you run a group that goes under the hashtag Book a Week Challenge. So tell us about the Book a Week Challenge. Some of it sounds somewhat self-explanatory. We burn a book every week. And then, yeah, tell us if you've got some particularly big recommendations for the audience.
Yeah, of course. This is my favorite thing to talk about. So this is my baby. This is my passion. The hashtag Book a Week Challenge. It actually started as a personal challenge to myself that I wanted to pick up reading again. I did reading a lot as a child. I was crazy about books. I would not put my books down. And then I kind of left that habit aside in high school, college. You have more important things to do, I guess, at that point in your life.
You've got to read the books that they tell you to read.
Oh, that's true. You have to read your uni books. So I picked back up this challenge, started as a personal thing, and then I started to do it more publicly under the hashtag Book a Week Challenge that I host over LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And I started to do it publicly, partly because there's an element that if you do something publicly, it kind of forces you to stick to it. You have more
100%.
of a, have more pressure.
If there's something that you are like something that you would like to be doing regularly that you haven't been able to intrinsically summon up the focus to do regularly, I 100% agree. This idea of sharing your work publicly, whether it could be a LinkedIn post or it could be a blog post, it could be running an in-person group, that idea has dramatically transformed my career personally. The show isn't about me, but really quickly, around 2016, I had been, for a couple of years, I'd been really aware of deep learning. And I wanted to be studying deep learning deeply. But weekends would go, you're busy with work and weekends would go by and I'd be like, oh yeah, that chapter that I was going to read about deep learning, I just didn't do it again. And so eventually I just forced myself by creating a group, a deep learning study group that was going to meet on a date and we were going to cover a specific chapter. And so all of a sudden I had to do it, no matter what else was going on in my life, I had to make the time for that. And that indirectly has led to everything that I'm doing since, like hosting a podcast, writing a book on deep learning. All of those things happened as a result of forcing myself to do it. So I couldn't agree more that having a hashtag like this Book a Week Challenge is a great way to force yourself to read a book a week.
It works. It works. So I started it selfishly for that reason, to make sure I stayed on board. But then as well, because I wanted to create a community effect, a community effort, and bring more people onto the challenge and try to enforce more healthy habits and continuous learning. So I'm all into education, continuous learning.
Another reason why doing it publicly can be so helpful. So not only do you read a book a week, but lots of people in the group, if not reading a book a week, they're probably reading a lot more than they otherwise would be by having this community around that are doing it.
Which reminds me that I also created the hashtag Book a Month Challenge for those that cannot stay. Because I understand a book a week is a lot. So we also have the hashtag Book a Month Challenge, which I think practically anyone can finish one book a month. So that's a little bit more broader.
Is it like the best of like your top pick from the previous month or something?
No, I actually post every book under the Book a Month Challenge, even though I just use every book is book a week and book a month for me. But you're right. I could maybe just, I could do that, but I don't. It's hard for me to pick my favorite, and every book is valid.
And yet we're going to make you right now.
Oh yeah. Okay.
What are so actually that'd be a fun one for you. Given all the reading that you've done.
Yeah.
It's your all-time favorite book.
I don't know if I could pick like the book, the all-time favorite, but for those that know me from this challenge or know about my reading habits, you would know that my favorite genre is sci-fi. I love science fiction. I have to, one thing about the challenge that I recommend others as well is that you actually should change the type of books that you're reading. Don't always stick to the same thing. So I'm constantly changing sci-fi, tech, neuroscience, physics, historical fiction. Like I jump all over the place. But I have to force myself to do this because if it were up to me, I would just read sci-fi every week. So my top sci-fi, there are 3 books that are my absolute favorite. You have Seven Eves by Neil Stephenson. There is Aurora by Kim Stanley Robinson. And then Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. All of these are like typical sci-fi tech,
Nice.
outer space, artificial intelligence.
Neil Stephenson is a really famous author in the space, isn't he? There's a Cryptonomicon as a big one.
I haven't read that one,
Yeah.
but I know it. I know of it.
Yeah, I haven't read any of it, but that's a book that has been recommended to me a bunch of times in my life.
Well, you can add Seven Eves as well next to that because it's very, very good.
Nice.
So that's more the sci-fi, but to get it more on track with our conversation and our listeners tuning in for data and tech, I will say that these sci-fi helps my creativity, especially when it comes to thinking about the future of artificial intelligence and technology. It can help in that sense, and it definitely does for me. But then if you want something a little bit more grounded, more data or tech focused, I have a lot of suggestions, but to narrow it down, it may have been suggested before, but Weapons of Math Destruction by Cathy O'Neill is great for data ethics, to be more aware of the challenges that all of these algorithms and the data around us, the challenges that it poses for us as a society.
Right.
We're at this moment in time that we really need to be aware of it, and we need to make changes so that some of the negatives of algorithms don't come back and hurt us. So there's that book. As well, another one, maybe not as well known, but one that I found really interesting because I wasn't aware of this at all. It's called Army of None. It's about autonomous weapons, so artificial intelligence within warfare. So the author is Paul Shar, and this was just the first book that I really got a touch of data as it pertains to warfare. It's just not something that I think about, but it's going to become more and more important when it comes to governments and military.
Yeah.
So that was
and apparently
super
conflict, international conflict happening all of a sudden again.
That's true.
We might have never thought in our lifetimes that would happen.
Yeah. And it probably links a lot to the data ethics as well. There's data ethics pieces that we need to keep in mind. So there's that book. And then another one that I really like, especially for our beginners, it's called Be Data Literate by Jordan Morrow.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a great book to get started for those wanting to understand the data literacy skills that you need to succeed in business.